Happy Easter! I think James wants to say Happy Easter too. Say Happy Easter, James.
Say hi.
Say hi. We're having fun walking all around. So, James is actually wearing my little brother's outfit, so it's a passed down, but it was a cute little Easter outfit on him. But so we enjoyed going to church as a family today, and we kind of spent the day together. But for dinner, hey Ashley, how are you? I'm making lamb for dinner. I thought that was appropriate. We'll have Easter/Passover lamb. So since naturally our dinners are almost always dairy-free, and we're not having any bread either, so there's no yeast involved in this meal, so it's kosher too. So this is perfect for Passover as well, if you don't celebrate Easter. But I'm going to flip this around so y'all can see. There we go. My phone updated in my little icons were in a different place. So I have a rack of lamb here, and it's a Frenched rack of lamb. So if you're buying rack of lamb, I definitely go for French, because when it's Frenched, they'll go ahead and clear out all the connective tissue and different things in between the ribs, and so that's cuts out half the work for you. They also get rid of most of the fat that's on top. I went ahead and trimmed a little bit of the fat that was on top from the top of the lamb. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you can even leave it on. It really doesn't matter too much either way, but the extra fat on the lamb does give it a more lamby flavor, so it's not really a wild flavor, because lamb is a domesticated animal, like cows, but it is a little bit it makes the lamb flavor stronger. So if you're new to lamb, or you're not as wild about the strong flavor, then trimming some of the fat can help with that, make it a little bit milder. The meat's still delicious. And another reason I trim the fat is because it smokes up a lot when you grill it, and so that just decreases the risk of our smoke alarm going off, since I grill indoors with the gas grill. Hi, Kim. So that's kind of why I trim a little bit of the fat, and it just makes it easier to cut up for James too, because he has a hard time chewing that. So I'm using one of my favorite recipes, and I actually got out the recipe book today instead of eyeballing it and just going by memory like I kind of do. Sometimes I kind of fudge, and sometimes I add different things or leave stuff out. But I got the idea for this recipe. It's herbes de Provence crusted lamb chops, and it's in one of my favorite recipe books, Cooking Light for Dinner Tonight. So it's relatively easy recipes and healthy recipes that you can pull together for dinner. So I'm mixing up in here. So I got my little bowl I'm mixing stuff up in. Hey, Hannah. But I have one clove of minced fresh garlic. I do like fresh garlic better than dried. The flavor is just a lot more pungent. It smells really great. But if you have dried on hand, that works great too. Sometimes if I don't have the minced garlic on hand or fresh garlic, I substitute a little bit of garlic powder in a pinch. Or you can even leave it out altogether if you're not a huge garlic fan. But make sure you go for one clove and not one head. The head is the whole bulb, and it breaks up into slivers, and that's a clove. So I still remember the time in college where Dame used 2 heads of garlic instead of 2 cloves. You can definitely tell the difference. So make sure it's just one clove. Hi, Sarah. So there's 1 clove minced garlic. There's also 1 tablespoon dried herbes de Provence. Just a mixture of great French herbs. Also half a teaspoon of salt. So I got some salt here, and 1/4 a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper, and I might even have actually done about half a teaspoon of that. Just kind of eyeball that, because I like to do freshly ground pepper instead of the pre-ground pepper. The flavor's just a lot more pungent. It's a little bit spicier. And then to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball that too. I actually measured everything out this time. Usually I tend to eyeball, especially on a weeknight, but since I got out the real recipe for you guys to show you. All right, so that's about 2 tablespoons of the Dijon mustard. And I'm just kind of mixing that up. All right, so that's pretty good there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on our gas grill. I like gas because it heats up really fast. I'm just going to turn it on to medium. And also right over here on the stove, I'm making some rosemary and olive oil and quinoa and brown rice to go with it. And then we'll have some green beans. So, again, no dairy or no milk, no butter, no yeast involved in anything we're making tonight. So that makes it a great kosher Passover meal, as it is a great Easter meal, celebrating the Lamb of God. So, okay, so we've got our lamb prepped already. And so now all we're going to do is just spoon on the mustard and herb mix. And I probably should have taken off my bracelet before doing this, but hindsight's 20/20, right? Okay, so just getting that all over the meat. You can also roast in the oven rack of lamb, but I like to grill. That's my favorite way of doing lamb. A lot of times I do grilled lamb loin chops instead of lamb rib chops. So the rack of lamb is a rib chop, and sometimes you get it, all together like the rack of lamb, and sometimes you can get it individually cut up. It's just rib chops. The loin chop is my favorite cut because it's not quite as good quality of cut as the rib chop, but it's still a really great quality of meat, and it's usually a bit cheaper than the rib chop, kind of like comparing a tenderloin to a sirloin. All right, so that's pretty good. We've spread our mixture all over there. I'm just going to make sure, our grill's heating up nicely. We'll get a sizzle in a few minutes. Let me go ahead and put it on. So you'll do the meat side up on the rack of lamb first, and grill it on medium heat for about 10 to 12 minutes. You can rotate sides occasionally, make sure everything gets nice and browned. I would say for lamb, I usually go for medium rare, so 130 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Hey, Maris. Hey, Karen. For meats, you can kind of like tell when it's about to be done, and the redness and pinkish disappearing from the outside. But I always use a meat thermometer, handy dandy, to make sure. Just put it in like the thickest part of the meat to make sure you're getting the right internal temperature. You don't want your meat to be underdone. So if it's a little overshot, we're getting a nice sizzle on that. We can hear it now. So if you overshoot the 130, 135 degrees, you'll still have great meat, but you'll just probably end up with medium rather than medium rare, but you don't want it to be undercut. So that's why I always double check with the meat thermometer. It just makes me feel a little bit better. So that's the recipe. Hope y'all are enjoying your Easter with your family. Take care and God bless.